Hello, I'm Agnes, an architect from Create Spaces Limited. Today's topic is common design mistakes that we have in the construction and design field. So the first and foremost is the most common mistake that we usually have is budgeting. When it comes to budgeting, you find usually the clients do not know what their budget is for these projects. I would say from an understanding side it would be most people do not know what it costs for construction to take place. They don't know the value of the buildings that they live in. For example, most people that have constructed their houses today, you'd find that they did, let me say, a phased out project and they used foremen. So you find the total complete project, you do not have the proper understanding of how much this building costs. So budgeting is one of our major issues. So you find you ask a client what their budget is for this project, they do not usually have an answer, but you find the budget usually affects how we as architects design. So you find for, let me say, one project, if you have a big budget, we can go as far as using aluminium fittings, we can go as far as using Spanish tiles, we can build more floors, bigger rooms, more airy environments. As for where a client has a small budget, that's where we now change the materials. We make the project smaller and more precise, kind of like how someone designs a low-cost house. You try to use as much space as possible to reduce on the number of fittings that you have within this project, so the cost of the project comes down in totality. So a scenario where a client does not know their budget, you'll find you have surpassed the budget by even quadruple or triple number of times that the client has money saved for or has planned for. So this usually affects the construction process because you find the project is delayed. And in other scenarios, you find one thing I would say is we have phased out projects. So you can still do a project when it's phased out, but just like anything else in life that is phased out, you find that the amount that the total budget cost, let's say for example, would be 10 million. This is just a hypothetical number. The 10 million is the complete amount that you're supposed to pay. So when you phase out your project, you find that because you find the labor is coming in and out of the project, and going to, of course, different areas, but in and out of the project, this of course the transportation costs and all the other costs that you would not see, hidden costs that are not shown. So you find your cost your project ends up costing about, let's say, 12 million or 15 million. Just this same logic applies to where you're doing like a payment plan. Of course, when you have a payment plan, your project always, not your project, but whatever you're paying for, you end up paying double or even, let me say, 20% more than the actual costs that you would incur in the beginning. So budgeting is the very first. Tomorrow we shall give you the next problem that we have usually in our field. But please, if you do not know how much a project costs, try to do your research or try to reach out to a professional to give you at least an estimate so that you know, okay, a 3-bedroom house with this number of rooms, and let me say this area can cost you this much. Let me say a double-storied house can cost you this much. So as we go further, maybe we shall try to look into that area so that we can at least give you a basis to use when you're doing your construction. And I think actually that I might have forgotten is when it comes to renovation, one thing they don't tell you about renovation works is usually renovation ends up costing way more than when it comes to renovation, it costs more usually than the budget or the bill of quantities, because when it comes to the construction process, you will find other mistakes or other hidden things that you did not plan for that are in the building already and need to be corrected or worked on because of, let me say, the phasing or whatever comes up. But renovation projects usually cost a lot, so I would advise that if you are to, let me say, build a house or whatever it is in construction, I would advise you to use professionals, have heavy supervision. That's one thing that people don't talk about, heavy supervision, because most of our labor, of course, as you know, in Uganda is unskilled labor, so they are the hands and you are the brain, so there always has to be someone supervising, looking through and trying to correct, because when it comes to renovating, you will end up spending way more than you expected, and really, what can we say? Anyway, have a good day.